evening. I'm Olivia Ludes. Our top story tonight, U.S. Supreme Court case Dred Scott versus Sanford, the inside scoop. Tonight, we will be going back to the interviews taken earlier this week with representatives for Scott and Sanford. We will also have Chief Justice Taney live at the station, giving us details on her decision in court. A quick overview of the case. Scott was unhappy as a slave in Missouri. He could not purchase his freedom, so he sued for it. The first case was against Emerson, but that was lost. Later, he sued Sanford at the federal level. He lost that case with a majority vote of 7-2. We now go to the interviews from earlier this week.
I'm Helen Brewer, and I'm here with Kayla Anders, who will be arguing for Mr. Sanford today in court. Kayla, what can you tell me about some of Sanford's beliefs on this case?
Well, Mr. Sanford feels that Mr. Scott is his property, and as the Constitution says, he has a right not to have his property taken away from him without pay. Mr. Sanford just wants what's rightfully his.
But does Scott really belong to Sanford? After all, isn't it commonly accepted that as soon as a slave crosses into free territory, he's no longer a slave?
We on Mr. Sanford's side feel that this rule is unconstitutional because it violates the Fifth Amendment, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. So even if Dred crosses the line, it doesn't make him a free man. Dred Scott is still a slave, and Mr. Sanford's rights could be violated if the jury were to follow the prosecution's line of thought.
I see. And what can you tell us about how the trial is going?
We feel the trial is going great. For us, of course. We have the law, Constitution, and public beliefs on our side. What does Dred have?
Thank you for your time today, Kayla. Earlier today, I also spoke with Lexi Spangler, a representative for Dred Scott. Hello, Lexi. I understand you're supporting Dred Scott's side of the case?
Yes, I will be representing Dred Scott in this case.
So, what are some of the points Scott will be arguing in court today?
Well, Scott lived in Missouri as a slave for a long time. When his master Sanford took him north to a free territory, Scott should have become free, but he was still a slave.
Can you tell us anything about what's going on in the courtroom today?
I can't reveal too much information, but I can tell you that Sanford's lawyer, Kayla Anders, will be there arguing for Sanford against us. They will most likely say, when they moved back to Missouri, that he could have Scott as a slave again, but I can't be for sure. So why don't you ask her about that?
Thank you for your time today, Lexi. So there we have it. Scott and Sanford will be going at it today in the U.S. Supreme Court, and you can be sure we'll have full coverage on the story as soon as the trial is over.
We have Chief Justice Taney here today to explain her decision in court. Hello, Judge. How are you today?
I'm doing just fine, thank you.
Now, could you tell me, how did you make your decision on whether Scott was considered property or not?
Well, as you know, Scott lost his case in the Supreme Court. He started his case in Missouri, and the court there decided that he was not a free man. Since slavery is such a big issue, we decided we should hear his case. The Declaration of Independence states all men are created equal, but it is very clear that the enslaved Africans do not apply to this. White men wrote the Declaration of Independence, and therefore it does not apply to African Americans.
Okay. And do you believe that your decision is supported by the Constitution?
Yes, Olivia, I do. The Fifth Amendment backs up the decision made by the Supreme Court. The Fifth Amendment states, "No person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall property be taken for public use." Therefore, we could not make Scott a free man, or we would be violating the rights of Sanford. All Africans, slave or not, will never be citizens of the United States.
Okay, thank you for your time, Your Honor. That's all we have time for tonight. I'm Olivia Ludes, signing off. Good night.